Good morning all, Marina, Kia ora, Tafalofa and all that other stuff. It's finals footy weekend. We've made it. Good morning, Jeff. How are you? And also, if you've got questions about this weekend's finals, throw them in the comments and we will answer every question that you have. So, how excited are you, Jeff?
Morena, yeah, no, bring it on, mate. It's good. Finally coming to a culmination of a long season, and and good luck to your Wellington boys, mate. I reckon they can do the job. They're on a real roll, so look out, mate. Look out. The Rabs will be on fire. Come about 8:30 p.m. Saturday night. The old whiskey will be flowing in the Rabs household.
Yeah, and then we'll have to get in touch and say, can I please have the rugby cup around at my house again, like I did with the Ranfurly Shield a couple of weeks ago. So let's see if we can get our hands on that awesome trophy that's been around since 1976. And let's see if anyone knows who won. Here you go. Here's a question for the viewers in the comments.
Plenty.
You're not meant to give the answer away already. And Clarence Campbell, woohoo, yay, here we go. Good morning, gentlemen. Well, good morning, Clarence, and thank you for joining. Hopefully you can share this to all your friends because this is going to be 1 hour of bloody brilliance. So we'll start off with the first game this weekend in the finals, and it's South Canterbury taking on the mighty Butcher Boys from Wanganui down at Pleasant Point Domain in Pleasant Point, South Canterbury.
South Canterbury going to win by a mile, mate. Move on.
Do you think that?
Oh, it's one-sided. There's only been one team in it all year, mate.
Well, because I don't actually, I have sponsored South Canterbury in their Ranfurly Shield, and I support them, and I love people like Jeremy Sutherland, the vice president, and I've met all the boys, and to Nick Strawn and Etienne Van Zyl, the South African import, and Willie Wright and all those guys. Brilliant guys, bunch of guys, but hey, when the paycheck is paid by Wanganui, I have to be all Butcher Boys, I'm afraid, this weekend. The South Canterbury lads have the opportunity to take 2 more records for most conversions and most penalties in a season off Wanganui. They've already taken their most points in a season and most tries in a season off Wanganui. So, and it's the final we should have had last year. So we've got the Lahore Cup champions playing the Meads Cup champions in a weird game a year later, playing off for the ultimate prize in Heartland Championship. And I'm going to go that Wanganui will be up for this, and Wanganui will win by 8.
Oh, yeah. Gee, so you're just going with your heart, not your head, aren't you? Dangerous betting.
Totally.
Dangerous. Yeah, like I think all year, South Canterbury, undefeated. It started with that, I think, a Ranfurly Shield game at the beginning of the year, and that really set them up, I think, for a good season. And the race really has been to see who's second, third, fourth for those semi-finals, because I don't think South Canterbury were really tested too much through the season. The fact that Whanganui were taken to the wire by Thames Valley as well as probably a couple of little red flags there for the quality of game that we're going to see. I think South Canterbury will probably be up for it, the big game temperament, etc. I'm picking them by 18.
18. Ouch. Well, the thing is, last week's game, 76 points by South Canterbury, is a New Zealand record for NPC or Heartland finals, beating, I think it was 65, Poverty Bay and Hawke's Bay back in 94 2004 and 2005, I believe, thereabouts. So they completely blitzed that scoring record. And I mean, they've had a long season. When I saw them before the Ranfurly Shield down in Timaru, talking to Nigel Walsh and the team, they've been preparing for the Ranfurly Shield since last Christmas. So it's been a long year for these boys, and for them to keep it up and keep that momentum going is a testament to that squad. They've been very lucky with injuries. They haven't had that many major injuries at all. But yeah, as I said, brain says South Canterbury all day, every day, but my heart, I'm sorry, it's got to go for the Butcher Boys. So, and it's quite good that you went for South Canterbury, because now we can have a good old ding dong next week. Who was right and who was wrong? So then we go, okay, so good luck to them. That's on at 2:00 on Saturday afternoon, New Zealand time, live on Sky. It's going to be a great occasion. They've left the scaffolding up from the semi-final, so it's all the ground's looking good. I did notice the ground was quite furry last week, so hopefully they've given it a bit of a mow this week. The grass looked pretty long. Maybe they got the sheep in. I don't know. Is Timaru Showgrounds up and running at the moment? Clarence has asked. Probably, but the thing is, with the redevelopment of Fraser Park, they've had to move it around, and because they've got the final, they had all the scaffolding already set up for last week's semi-final. They just kept everything in place, and that's why the final's at Pleasant Point. So, and the way it's looking, it's going to be the same next year, because they might have started pulling down some of Fraser Park, but they haven't actually stuck a spade in the ground yet. So we could be doing tiki tours around South Canterbury again in 2023. So where else have we got? Oh, that's right, a little game called the NPC Final. The mighty Lions heading down to the fog machine capital of the world. And I must say, I did say to Canterbury Rugby Union, meanwhile, in the background, Bob, get out the fog machine. And they sent me a love heart. So they got the joke. But it's Wellington, are looking for 10 games straight now, I think it is. I actually think we've got a chance, and that's both my head and my heart talking. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think they're more than a chance, mate, to be honest. I think all year we've been talking about the juggernaut that is Canterbury, but after that performance against Auckland and the fact that they're on a roll, they've won the Ranfurly Shield, as you said, 10 games in a row. The quality of game that they're playing, the style, etc. It's really good to watch, and they've just got strength all across the park. So I think they can take that momentum with them, and I think that they can win this game. And I again, like you, I'm picking head and heart. I'm certainly thinking that Wellington can pull it off by probably 7 points, seven and under. I'll pick, but if I had to pick a margin. But yeah, I'll be putting a few dollars on Wellington. I'd say I haven't seen the odds at the TAB. I'd say that'd probably be Canterbury about $1.40 and Wellington $2.60 if I'm having a guess. I'll be interested to see what the TAB actually comes out with, but I'd say it'd be pretty close to the money.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have those all up and running when they have the what do you call it? The squad announcements. But yeah, I mean, how can I put this? Canterbury are good, but it's just something there about Wellington this year, and they'll probably turn around, completely bite us on the arse, and Canterbury will run out 40-point winners. That's the problem, But I think the way Wellington have played this year, other than the game against Northland, where they probably thought, oh, Northland, and the only happy person in the country was William Maranga, who would have been jumping up and down having his first win with the Taniwha over Wellington in a long time. I just think the way they finished that game against Auckland, they could have just round the game off, but they went and scored another try on the 80th minute. You know, they're prepared to attack from everywhere, and they've definitely taken in the Hurricanes mantra, anything's possible. You know, they want to play with flair, and the question I would have there is, has a lot of this been because of one TJ Perenara?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I didn't have too many good words to say, I guess, about TJ Perenara at the beginning of the season, did I? It was more around the fact that I felt, he'd had his time in New Zealand, he's moving on, and good on him, and I think the All Black selectors thought the same thing. But I guess once you're a professional like that, it's hard to sort of dump it and go back to being an amateur. He's certainly leading by example, and he's been a key factor in that Wellington squad. But they got youth across the park there too. I do love the fact that they got Ruben Love there at 15. They got Riley Higgins at 12. He seems to be a really, really good prospect. Certainly wouldn't be surprised if he's an All Black within the next 12 months. Both of them, actually, to be honest. I think if they're looking at some real flair and some youth and exuberance there, they couldn't go past those two. But some real solidity, I like the Karifi seems to be playing well. He was unlucky not to miss out on that All Blacks 15, which again is another talking point. All Blacks 15 or whatever you want to call it, New Zealand Day. I think it'll be a really an interesting game. I'll be certainly watching it. I'll make an effort to get onto my Sky Sport Go or my On the Go app when I'm up at my campsite on the weekend over Labour weekend and be watching that one for sure.
Oh, that's right. It's a long weekend, which means Jeff's off playing golf.
Yeah, unfortunately. Sorry about that. Yeah. Playing poorly, but who cares? I'm still out playing.
Well, I like the whiskey shots. I do a lot of whiskey shots in golf.
Yeah. So just don't do them at 8 o'clock in the morning, though, eh?
It's 12 o'clock somewhere, as they say. But yeah, I suppose something that's just popped into my head is, will we see someone like Ardie Savia turning out for Wellington this weekend?
Well, hey, this is the whole thing around the competition, isn't it? I mean, I'd love to see all the All Blacks available, but then that really makes a farce of the whole competition. They should have been available all the way through. I mean, if Ardie's playing for Wellington, then are they going to put in all the Canterbury All Blacks as well? And then, bye-bye Wellington.
Well, true, and I hope they don't. I don't even think he will be, but I mean, I hope they don't do the old, let's bring this guy in and this guy in, because all that's doing is kicking out the guy that got them into the final, And
exactly.
So I'm hoping that the squads are the same as per normal. So so I'll go Wellington by 9, and you're going by 7. Okay,
yep.
So we'll see how we progress from that. And then, of course, the biggest game of the year, the biggest game in 10 years in the making. Ngāti Pro, East Coast versus Mid-Canterbury, Whakarua Park, 1:05 p.m. now on Sunday afternoon, Lahore Cup final. First off, why is the Lahore Cup final played on Sunday? Why is the Meads Cup played on Saturday? To me, it's like having the World Cup final on Saturday and let's play off the 3rd and 4th on Sunday. I've never been a fan of it. I always think the Meads Cup should be the final game, but hey, it is what it is. So they get the whole day to themselves. It's the only rugby on other than, there's a World Cup on somewhere up your way. But otherwise, yeah, how good. Now all we need is aeroplanes to get the team to Gisborne, because I don't know if you saw the tally this morning. Jose and Sammy Parks were on there pleading for Air New Zealand to put on flights because there are no seats available into Gisborne on Thursday, Friday or Saturday. And they've got 4 players that need to fly in from Auckland and Wellington and supporters, and no one can get to the game, including players. How crazy is that?
Nothing surprises me, mate. nothing surprises me at all. I mean, as you said, the curtain raiser on the Sunday, the farce on trying to get players and supporters into Ruatoria, and mate, I don't know, man. Look, credit to Jose to what he's done there. I mean, you always look at coachings and how they've done with teams and how they've done with various teams and look at their records, and the fact that he's come in there and when East Coast was on a real low, got a couple of wins last year, and there's a number of firsts that he's just ticking off, isn't it? And all of a sudden, Ngāti Porou East Coast into another final. I think it's brilliant. It's a great fairy tale story, actually. So let's not take anything away from what Mid Canterbury has done as well. I mean, both those teams pulled off upsets in their semi-finals against higher ranked teams. So both teams will be going in with a bit of confidence. Bit tougher, I think, for Mid Canterbury to come into that hostile atmosphere on the East Coast. So I'm picking that the East Coast will be fired up. Jose will do the damage there in the changing shares. They'll be hissing when they come out. The supporters will be right up them, and it'll be a cracker actually on a Sunday afternoon. I might have to crack a beer at 1 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. Watch this one.
Well, that's what we're all hoping. I mean, the thing is, it's also a great. I thought I'd just quickly share. I just thought, I better get this out because I've got a lot of Ngāti Porou supporters watching me, following me on the old Facebook. What has made me more impressed than anything, though, is you often hear the adage, and you being a coach, you would know this. It can take 3 to 4 years to get your plan into actual action, right? So Jose comes in and he's got a team running, haven't been having wins for a long time. He's rebuilt the squad, rebuilt the culture. Let's throw the COVID in there. Haven't mentioned that for a while, so there's another $5 to the drink kitty when you're down here in Wellington next year for your chiropractic conference. We've got to catch up then. But the thing is, it's his plans of where he wanted to take this team is culminating on Sunday. So how must he be feeling now as a coach in the satisfactory wow stakes?
Yeah, I mean he'd be through the roof. Proud, satisfied. They're all understatements, really. There's nothing better when a plan comes off and you see the players buy into that plan. I think that's the key. You can have a plan, and the players don't buy into it. It isn't going to work. So you got to, as we talk about, you got to own the changing shed. So you got to have players who respect you. They listen to you, and they go and do as you say. And but they buy into, as you said, the culture. It's not just around a game plan. He's obviously identified different players. He's brought players in. He's obviously looked at fitness levels. He's looked at skill levels. He's looked at commitment levels. Again, the commitment there has to be phenomenal, through the roof. They're not professionals. They've all got day jobs. They've all got to travel from all around the place, and then they've got to commit to that. So there's a number of different factors that you've got to factor in. And I think Jose's sitting back there today, and he's pretty proud. But there's still a job to do, and that job won't be finished until 2:30 on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, well, that is correct. And with teams like with Canterbury, they've got a big road trip ahead of them. And as I said, the game's been brought forward an hour due to travel logistics. I've travelled that road just recently from Gisborne to Ruatoria. Starts off okay, and then it gets a bit hairy after that. And but with the weather we've had, there's been a lot of slips. There's a lot of major potholes in that area. So the cauldron that the Hammers are going to be going to, I mean, is the crowd going to be worth 10, 20 points?
Yeah, well, I hope so, and I hope that the Ngāti Porou East Coast supporters understand that, the importance of them turning up and the importance of them chanting and cheering and getting behind their team, because that's what we talk about, home ground advantage. What's the point of a home ground advantage if you haven't got your supporters barracking and making some noise. I mean, it's nice to be in your own changing sheds. It's nice to wake up in your own house and then travel to the game. I mean, that's all part of being, the home ground advantage. But the big part is the support base and the crowd and the noise that they can make. And so I think the atmosphere is going to be fan bloody tastic. I mean, they'll be sitting on the back of the utes there. They'll be drinking some beers and whatever, and as they do Ngāti Porou East Coast, and it'll be an awesome atmosphere. So bring it on. I think it'll be the game of the season.
Oh, totally. I mean, I shared yesterday to the East Coast Facebook page the second half of the great game from 10 years ago, Meads Cup final. They were down 20 points to 3, and it was like, oh, here we go, Wanganui again. East Coast had lost the final the year before. But I was watching the game, and what stood out for me was the players that were in that East Coast team. The winning try in that game was scored by no other than Verdon Bartlett, who will be playing in this game on Sunday. So the longevity of these guys, they've been through the highest of highs, been the champion of champions, to when will we ever see the winning post again, to being back into the national spotlight. You know what I mean? Because it's quite interesting to see how many Ngāti supporters come out of the woodwork and at this time of the year. And now they're back in the final. Clarence has just said there's always a crowd at Whakarua Park. I agree. It was a huge crowd there last year when I was there for the Queen's birthday game, and which they won, and I had the pleasure of drinking out of the Sayers Cup, which had been a long time between drinks there. But the atmosphere there will be so huge. I mean, I was looking at that crowd from 10 years ago, and I am expecting that same size crowd on Sunday. It's going to, they've done the ground up a little bit. It's still got everyone will be parking their cars up. All I say is if it is a close game, please don't invade the pitch like you did 10 years ago. Let's just let the game run. We don't want the referee holding the game up, and if it's a tight one. But when I look at the teams,
be a security officer down there, eh?
Oh, they'll be the first ones on the field, literally. But I mean, I'm just looking forward to the haka. The whole occasion is just going to be amazing. And I mean, if anyone's watching this on my Facebook page or in some other place, and you haven't really, and you're from out of New Zealand, if you get the opportunity to see this game, the passion that encompasses everything about New Zealand, this game on Sunday, I believe. You've got the community, you've got the team, you've got the passion. And it'll be interesting to see how many of the Mid-Canterbury supporters come up as well from Ashburton, because, I've got a bit of a thing there because the hooker or reserve hooker is a buddy of mine, Mason Bryant. He's an American. He's played for Buller. He's played here in Wellington. I can tell you one thing, this American he may have played in these small towns before, but he's in for a huge shock when he takes the field on Sunday. He's played Major League Rugby for New Orleans Gold. He's played around the world playing rugby, but for him to be in this atmosphere, I just think it is so awesome, and I'm really hoping he is picked in the squad. He is a great player, a young guy, and but I mean, Mid-Canterbury, they will have their plans in place, I'm sure, but it's going to be a hard trip. We've got to remember that they took East Coast for granted in Ashburton, and I think it was round 1 or 2 this year. East Coast got their first win against Mid-Canterbury in 10 years, which is a nice synergy over Mid-Canterbury. and the reason the finals there is because East Coast won that game by 36-34. So I think we could be in for a high-scoring match, and but yeah, definitely Sky Blue for me all the way, and I think it will be by 4 points.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it'll be a lot closer. Again, it depends on how both teams, I guess, handle the occasion. But like the Black Ferns in the opening game of the World Cup, wasn't it? They just did not handle the occasion, and it took them half an hour to settle the nerves and get into the game. So I'd expect that the Ngāti Porou East Coast will come out, breathing fire from the nostrils. Mid Canterbury's just got to hold on and defend, and then we've got a game of footy after about 20 minutes once everything settles down. But this is where, as I said, the crowd will get involved, and East Coast just need to keep the pressure. Just needs to be relentless, because they can't give Mid Canterbury a sniff. And again, both teams coming off a great semi-final victory, so that'll be a great game. But I do think it'll be a lot closer. And I do think, as I said, East Coast will get up, but it'll be that 4 to 6 point margin, I think.
Yeah, and if they do get up, do I do a updated version of my history book? I might have to, because we've got a couple of seasons now where we can add a few extra results and republish the book that sold out and go. Includes 2021, 2022 seasons. Seriously looking at it. But I'll have to figure out how much it's going to cost to get the original book updated. Yeah, but I just think we look at this whole weekend and it's a good celebration. We're in, as I said, at Pleasant Point, we're at Christchurch, we're at Whakarua Park. Completely went out of my brain then. But we've got north, south, north, south, north, south. So, in our opinion, it's 2-1 to the north.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we're picking Wellington over Canterbury, aren't we? And a lot of that is the heart, I think, especially for you. But I'm thinking, the momentum of Wellington. I think South Canterbury is going to be too strong. And we're both picking East Coast. So there you go, man. Triple those up at the TAB and count your dollars on Monday.
It could be worth a sneaky $5, I can tell you that. So, for those that are listening, on the East Coast website, there is a link for merchandise. I don't know if you'll get it on time before the weekend, but you could always try. Click the link, say merchandise, and that will take you through to their current supplier, which is Code, and you might be able to pick up some supporters gear. Otherwise, I'm guessing there will be supporters gear at the ground on Sunday, and I know they've got a couple of books left of mine. So if you want to buy read a bit of history about East Coast, buy the book and make us 100% sold out. So we got a new comment here from a Andre. And it's actually fun that you've just said this, Andre. Higher honours. I do know that New Zealand Heartland team has been picked. And I am still waiting to see who that Heartland team is. And in saying that, I will just quickly check my email. Because I'm expecting to get it any day. They will be playing, I think it's in the, November 1st or 7th, something like that, in Taupo against the New Zealand Police. There's a left field one for you. So when I heard that, I went, okay, New Zealand Police. I'm sure they got smashed by the New Zealand Army this year in the services comp. Would this not have been an opportunity with the game being played in Taupo, for the New Zealand Heartland 15 to take on a combined centenary team, Thames Valley King Country.
Yeah, but see, you're speaking way too much sense, Kevin. The fish heads sitting around the table, they don't like sense. The only sense they like is the CENTS variety, which is the dollars. Now, that might cost them money. They might look and think, oh, hang on, if we do this, it's going to cost us some money. So, oh, maybe we better not do that. This is the ridiculousness of it. You're speaking cents, and they're speaking dollars, and it doesn't. Some of the times they don't marry up. That's unfortunate, and this is how ridiculous it is. I mean, what you're saying is fantastic. I think what a great idea, but I don't know, man. Go and stand on a board somewhere and vote. I'll vote you in for the New Zealand Rugby Union board, mate. You have some great ideas.
I can never even get an interview, unfortunately, but maybe because I don't want to toe the line
Exactly.
and be the agree man. But the thing is, though, it's great that the Heartland boys get the game, and it will be an honour for them to put on the Heartland jersey. But if we're turning around and looking at that, I mean, sure, they get together. It's a good celebration for them to cap off a season. But, I mean, if we can afford to send 2 New Zealand teams to Europe, we can afford to have sellout crowds at Rugby World Cups. We can have all these other development teams travelling all around the world. Shouldn't the Heartland boys be given a trip somewhere, to Australia, to the Gold Coast, to Fiji, to Samoa, to Tonga? I mean, they've been there before, yes, but really, a trip to Taupo? I mean, word I've heard is there's about 8 Wanganui players in it. It's a 2-hour drive for them. At the end of the day, these guys want to get together. They want to have fun. But I'm not saying Taupo can't be fun, but it's Taupo. They probably go there every other weekend, especially the boys that live in Ruapehu,
Mm. Yeah, no, look, I agree, mate. I agree. We've got the Silver Lake deal, which supposedly all the money's going to be filtered down, etc. But as we've always said, I doubt we'll see much of that money. It'll all go on the brand, and it'll be all about promoting the All Black brand. So I don't know, mate. We can only hope.
Well, 50 points or less. So we've got someone here that is. So from what Khan is saying here, is he saying take a multi with East Coast, South Canterbury, and Wellington to win by 50 points or less in the TAB option? I think he is.
Yeah, it'll be a TAB option. It'll be all 3 teams combined to win by 50 points or less. So Wellington might win by 20, South Canterbury by 20, and East Coast by 9 points, and they win. So I'm assuming. Yeah.
And of
I
course,
would assume that's what it is.
Our other chatter here today, Clarence, East Coast, Wanganui, and Wellington. There's a North Islander for you. Well done, Clarence. But as I said, Andre, South Canterbury should have 3 or 4 guys, or at least 5 guys, really, in that Heartland team. And of course, South Canterbury, one Cullen Grace, who seems to have fallen off the radar a bit. Don't know if he's injured or not, but with the All Blacks. But he started his rugby off at South Canterbury before being picked up by being headhunted by Canterbury to play for them. So
maybe
this is a great.
Did Cullen Grace and Peter Gus Suakula, did they get into a bit of a fight in the lift or something together when they were in the All Blacks? Because both are number 8s, both had fleeting moments as All Blacks, and now both of them completely off the radar, can't even make a New Zealand 15. So something's going on there, mate. I have no idea. Peter Gus played 10 minutes, scored a brilliant try against Ireland, never been seen again. Something's going on. Something's going on. Let's start a conspiracy.
I know. I love that. A fight in an elevator.
Oh, I don't know, man.
Anybody knows
Does Fozzie have a
Please.
daughter? I don't know. Something's going on. Something's happening.
Well, I have heard a story about Andrew Mertens in the past, but you never know. That's another story.
Move on. Move on.
Move on, yeah, before I get done for defamation. Yeah, so good question. Because we look at all these guys, sure they're building up and they want to be able to go into next year and going, right, this is the core players. We've seen the All Blacks, we've seen the New Zealand 15, and then they've just got to meld these two teams into a super squad. Because that's what they're doing. They're trying to create the super team from the two teams they've got. It's going to be pretty hard for anyone to break into those two teams now, especially when you got like guys like TJ that are still in the New Zealand 15. It's going to be pretty hard for anyone even thinking about getting in unless you're already in those two squads to be a bolter for Rugby World Cup next year. You believe?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. It must be a bit disconcerting for some of these guys, and already there's rumours around some of these guys heading away, taking up contracts. We still don't know what's happening with Sean Stevenson. There's rumours there that he's going to the NRL. George Bridge obviously going to Japan. So if I was a Peter Gus or a Cullen Grace or someone else on those fringes, I'd be taking the money. Unfortunately, and that's just the way it is, man. And the way it's always been, really, is you have a look at your options, you see how far you've gone in the game. I mean, someone close to me, someone like a Sean Maitland, if you remember him, that Canterbury winger. He's a Tokoroa boy, made good, went down to Canterbury, played New Zealand Māori, just set the world on fire, the rugby world on fire. Should have been an All Black. So he just said, well, okay, I'm on the outer. I'm going to head over to Scotland. All of a sudden, he's playing for Scotland, playing for the British and Irish Lions, and forging an unbelievable career over in Europe. So, guys like him, they're all over the place. I wouldn't say they're washed up. It's just that your pinnacle is the All Blacks, and if you feel as though you're not getting recognised or not getting a look in, then you've just got to take what's on offer. And if it's a contract overseas, then good on them.
England. You remember about 2 years ago them crying about how we're taking all the players from the Pacific Islands? And
we've heard that for years, haven't we?
Yeah. 8 foreign-born players, including a Scotsman and a Georgian, are in the England squad for the end of year tour test matches. So this message out to our European viewers: England, pull your head in, because England rugby is absolutely in a state of chaos at the moment, is it not? You've had the Worcester Warriors, you've had the great club Wasps, both fold in the last week. Imagine Auckland going into receivership. Imagine Wellington going into receivership. That is how big that news is. There are a lot of people down this part of the world probably don't realise how big that is, and how is that going to affect the playing minds and mentality of these guys, who a lot of them would be picked for the English squad.
Exactly. It's a bad reflection on rugby union, to be honest. You got to ask the question why. Why have they folded? Have they gone? Are they paying too much? Obviously you got to look at expenses and the assets and liabilities, etc. Are they paying players too much? I mean, gone too big too soon. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not privy to what's happening with their finances, but it's not a good look for rugby when big clubs like that are falling over. Something's going wrong. And as you said, the bigger implication or the bigger picture there for England rugby, that's huge. They were on a little bit of a decline anyway. We talked at length around Eddie Jones and the influence he's had on England. Obviously, very, very positive to start. But again, he gets to that certain point, doesn't he, where I think players think, okay, we've heard that, we've seen that before. What else you got? So yeah, I mean, there's still going to be a threat at the World Cup. Don't get me wrong, but this is not a good look for England and for English rugby. And again, if they're buying in players, I hate to use that word, but again, as you said, 8 foreign-born players. I mean, if they're born, if they're foreign-born, that's fine, so long as they're educated in England and they're playing in England, etc. But I mean, if they're poaching foreign players, that's a different story.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I suppose it's just a matter of watch this space with that, because teams like the Welsh, their clubs have had a bit of up and down, but they've seemed to have balanced themselves out now, especially getting these trips to South Africa, playing in the United Championship, and all that sort of stuff. But you look at that, and then you look at these South African. I know I've gone on a bit of a segue here, but then you look at that, and those Celtic teams are starting to. I mean, Ulster, I think it was Ulster, beat the Lions in South Africa by, I think it was 37-36 or something stupid last weekend. So the South Africans themselves have thought, oh, yeah, we'll go to Europe, we'll play there, we'll win everything. Now they're starting to find the difference in play, and the results aren't probably stacking up. I mean, I think there's only 2 teams in the top 6 from South Africa on that current table. To me, that says a lot as well about what's happening with South African rugby.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it just never sat with me, the fact that South Africa went to join a European competition. It just, I don't know. South Africa to me has always been our Southern Hemisphere rivals. They should be associated in a competition with us. I know the time zones are crazy to deal with, but South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, we're the Southern Hemisphere powerhouses, always have been. All of a sudden, South Africa breaks away, wants to go into the northern hemisphere and go into a European competition. Just never sat right. So, hey, maybe that's an experiment that's gone wrong. For South Africa and for Europe as well. Maybe that's contributed to maybe the downfall of Worcester and Wasp. I don't know. But again, it was already a good competition, wasn't it? The European Cup and the Heineken Cup, etc. And then you throw extra teams in there from South Africa. So was that needed? I don't know. At the end of the day, mate, if I watch the demise of the Northern Hemisphere, I'm just sitting here going, excellent, good, bring it on.
Totally true. And I suppose, though, also, if you look at that, what do you call them? The Australians, they'll be looking at that now too, because the thing is, they're seeing what's going on with all these teams moving around. They've threatened to leave Super Rugby. Really, they must be looking at that going, maybe we just stay. Because, I mean, they're finding it hard already, to get the crowds to the games and all that. I mean, it doesn't matter how much culturalness they're trying to throw at rugby union in Australia. It's still like the 6th sport behind tiddlywinks, over there. And you look at the expansion of the NRL, we've got the North Bears now that might be moving to Perth. We've got the Dolphins coming in next year. It's going to be if the Northern Bears come in next year. I know they're waiting to see how the Dolphins go for expansion, but if they do bring that in, then it's going to be, and they move over to Perth and become the Western Bears, then you've got a truly national rugby league competition, which will really be detrimental to any gains rugby union may have been able to make. So you understand what I'm saying there? Maybe
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And AFL as well. I mean, so it's that whole thing. We've got to we just got to get a competition that works. And as I've said over and over again, at the moment the competition is just not working. The Super Rugby is not working. The Rugby Championship's not working. Even the NPC isn't working because, as we said before, I mean, you're throwing All Blacks in and out of that competition, and it's unfair for teams coming up against a team stacked with maybe 4 or 5 All Blacks that have been released that weekend. We can't seem to get it right. Here we are in 2022 going into 23, and we still can't get our competitions right. We just need people, and I bang my head against the wall here. We need fish heads sitting around a boardroom table that are rugby people and actually listen to grassroots and get a competition that everybody is excited in. There's tribalism there. At the moment, it's about making money. We want more games, but the product's failing us. If the product is failing us, people aren't going to watch it. The NRL's got it. They've got a competition week in, week out, and they've got a little window here at the moment where they're playing the World Cup or the Rugby League World Cup. It's a global season for them, but nothing interferes with the NRL. And they're generating millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they're generating millions of viewers around the world with a competition that starts in March and finishes in October. And it goes, and you play each team twice, I think, in that season, and that's it. So again, it goes back to us. We're changing our competitions all over the place to try and suit the All Blacks or to suit Super Rugby or whatever. Whereas I'd like to see an NPC competition based on what the NRL are doing. 14 teams, promotion relegation if need to, and play each team twice or whatever. It's a long season, yeah, but the money then filters down to all those NPC players, and everything's covered, and we create this tribal competition that people go and watch. And you have your Friday night games, your Saturday night games, your Sunday afternoon games. So I don't know, man. I'm just, who am I? Who are we? No one's going to listen to us.
Yeah. No, and really, if at the end of the day, and it's a good segue back to the start, New Zealand rugby, take a look at what's happening this weekend. Really. I mean, there will be a plane load of people leaving Wanganui going down to Timaru. You don't have enough planes to get people to Ruatoria. There's no planes going into Gisborne for 3 days. They're all booked out. Why? Because it's huge. Now, what they've got to do is look at what's going to happen on Sunday, bottle that, and go, right, how do we do this? And things like Air New Zealand and all that, sure, they're their own commercial things. But when you're watching football, right, and stuff like that, I know populations are different and the size is different, but when it's cheaper to fly from Auckland to Honolulu than it is, and it costs more to fly from Auckland to Timaru, you'd take Honolulu every day, wouldn't you?
Of course you would. I don't know what Timaru offers either. I know what Honolulu offers.
Well, exactly. But the thing is, I literally read that and my jaw dropped. I thought they want people to go to these games. They want the tribalism to happen. You see their adverts, right, on TV going, we're all wearing our shirts, and they've done a little crowd shot of 3 people in a stadium built for 50,000. But they want to get these people to all the games. They've got to do a deal with the local airlines, Jetstar, Air Chatham's, Air New Zealand, and dare I say it, Air Ruatoria, who, big shout out for them to get the boys back home from Gisborne to Ruatoria last week when they couldn't, all wanted to get home at the same time. Air Ruatoria, fly between Gisborne and Ruatoria. So if you're looking for a flight, that could be an option. But they've got to have some sort of package deals that make it affordable for people to fly, like me. What if I want to go down to Christchurch this weekend? Unless I preordained it 6 months ago and brought a $50 cheap seat, grab a seat deal, you know what I mean? That would be great. You'd fill every plane if you said, right, this weekend we're going to put on 3 extra flights to Gisborne. Every seat is $50.
But instead they do the opposite. They do the
Exactly.
opposite. Those dickheads will be sitting there. They'll be waiting for the results. They're like, oh, Wellington won. They're going to go to Christchurch. Right, what we're going to do, we're going to put our prices up. Let's put the prices up of every seat on every plane going into Christchurch Friday, Saturday.
So
They do the
would I
opposite.
pay four? Yeah. So would I pay $400 to go to Christchurch, or $300 to go to the Gold Coast?
Yeah, exactly.
You know. So I mean, this is really sort of like we're getting right into the old bourbons this morning. As you drink water, I drink up a bottle of bourbon. But the thing is, they've got to look, powers that be, about getting the people to the games. I mean, sure, when it's pre-season, regular season, you know, you're going to have your hardcores and all that. But when you get to, you know, the grand finals, you know, you get a team like East Coast that haven't been in a final for 10 years. They've had 10 years of pain, let's be honest. You know, they won 2 games in, I think, 8 years off the top of my head. You know, they could have been in a semi-final last year, but due to COVID, another $5 to the kitty, there was no semi-final. So they missed out there. They missed out on playing for the Bill Osborne. You've got to remember, they hold the Bill Osborne Tionga, the new Ranfurly Shield of Heartland Rugby. So they've got that already locked away for the summer, you know, and all that. So, you know, how cool will that be to do that in front of the whānau, in front of the iwi, and just totally, I mean, that party will go on for 3 months when they win on Sunday, and if they can get across the line on Sunday, that will be just going off. You know, a town with 3 men and a dog, and one of them men used to work with my father, which I found quite hilarious. Here in Wellington, I was in the bar at the RSA there last year, and the guy goes, "Did your father?" I worked with a guy called Kevin. And I said, "Yeah, that was my dad." He goes, "Oh, I worked with him on the ferry terminal in Wellington." I thought, really? I'm in the middle of nowhere, and you worked with my dad? It was crazy. But yeah, so, you know, we are a small country at the end of the day. But the thing is, you know, the mate traits, as Clarence has said here on our chat, they've got to do something, because you look at Aussie rules. How do they get 50, 60, 70, 80,000 people at a club game? You know, Richmond versus Hawthorn or something like that. Again, I know the population size is different, but they do deals where they get people to join the clubs, right? And we have these membership things here: join the Auckland membership, join the North Harbour membership. But they say, okay, here you go, join this and you get cheap tickets, you get this and you get that, and a lanyard and a beanie, right? If you look at over in Aussie, you join their membership, you get basically a season pass, half price tickets to all the games, you get cheap transport to the games, you're given a $150 jersey as part of your membership, and you build that tribalism.
Exactly. I mean, you got to look at, do you really want 20,000 people at your game and each of them paying $5, or do you want 5,000 people there expecting them all to pay $20? So
Sure.
it's simple maths. You're going to get the same amount of money, but you're going to have 20,000 people there. 20,000 people are going to spend more money on beers, on chips, on merchandise, etc. But then you have the logistics there of getting to the game, and then you got your parking, and then weather becomes a factor as well. But it's the entertainment once you're at the game. Because for example, I went to the opening World Cup game, Black Ferns versus Australia. Now, part of my ticket gave me a free bus. So all it was a 2-minute drive down to the Albany bus station. You jump on, you flash your ticket, and that bus takes you right to Eden Park. You go to Eden Park, you walk in, and every stall, there's food, there's beer, there's toilets, food, beer, toilets, all the way around, regardless of whether you were. The entertainment was second to none. There's Rita Ora was there. You had Taka Waiti was there. I mean, the poise. It was like this. It was a fantastic environment. It was great. It was affordable. It was cool. It was awesome. But it's not always like that. And unfortunately, the greed comes in and they start overcharging. then you're not really getting bang for your buck, because you go to watch the rugby, obviously, but there's other factors that you want. You want to be entertained. You want a night of entertainment. So, and the big thing for me too was replays up on the scoreboard, and making sure that the score and the time is readily available for you. Because I'd see a play, and then at home I can rewind it. And of course, when you're in the stadium, I'm like, well, what happened there? So again, at Eden Park, it was good. It was clear. They rewound, they showed the plays, they showed the tries, etc. It was so again, that was really, really awesome at Eden Park. But we've got to do that. Like, I mean, at North Harbour Stadium, I don't know, man. I love my Harbour team, and North Harbour Stadium's just down the road, but I very rarely go and watch them live, because to me it becomes a factor around driving there, getting a car park, paying for the ticket, and then you're paying for having a couple of beers and a bit of food, and then you're sitting there out in the elements at North Harbour Stadium. There's no cover, and the scoreboard and the it's just it's not the best. It can be a lot better. So it comes back to people sitting around the boardrooms and saying, how do we get people to games? So my big thing is obviously, lower your prices, get people in the door.
100%. I'm 10 minutes from Sky Stadium here in Wellington. I haven't been to a game at all this year. Not even the. I mean, they're getting more people at the football on a Sunday afternoon. Hang on, Sunday afternoon in the sun. Oh, or 7 o'clock in the cold, in the wet, in a half-empty stadium on a Saturday night. $30 for parking, $30 for a beer, $30 for a cold pie. Or do I take the Sunday, go and watch the football, the mighty, mighty Phoenix, sitting in the sun? I mean, the two games I've had there so far, you're watching it on TV, and it's just people bathed in sunshine. That's why they take their shirts off. You don't see many of them taking their shirts off at 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, haven't we? You get these middle of the winter, it's freezing bloody cold, 7:30 p.m. kickoff, and they're giving a test match to somewhere down in Dunedin or Christchurch or something or other, and you see people there just like this. But the old days, and they weren't that long ago. You used to have 2:30 p.m. kickoffs in the day, and your club games, you just brought your club games forward. So you play your club game at midday, then you shoot up to the changing sheds, up to the club rooms, and you'd watch it on the big screen up there with the packed club rooms. Brilliant, great product too, because it was a dry day, middle of the day, sunshine, etc. No dew on the ground, no floodlights. But again, we've gone away from that. And just to answer Clarence's question, he asked if I'm going to a live game this weekend. Not this weekend, mate. I'm Labour weekend. I'll be up north at my campsite playing some golf and drinking far too many beers with my mates up there. But certainly, I'll be getting to the Black Ferns games later on in the tournament, quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals.
Yeah, well, Clarence, you've got to realise if it's a long weekend, Jeff's playing golf and drinking somewhere. So you'll get to know that. And I'll bring up the Black Ferns. They've got the Scottish girls this weekend. Now, I can't remember who said it, but they said, the sarcasm is strong with this one. So I replied with a picture of Baby Yoda. Sure, you said you're at Eden Park. They had a great crowd, record crowd, 30-odd thousand in the 50,000-seat stadium. But great crowd, please don't get me wrong. And it took them a while to get stuck in. But then they played that game in Whangarei. No, have they played in Whangarei yet? No, they haven't. But there was the games in Whangarei. Yeah, that's right. But then they had the games in Whangarei. Great games for all the other teams. Very few people there. Whangarei, I believe, is a lot smaller than Eden Park. But then they had the games last week on the Sunday at Waitakere. And that's where we had a bit of a chat about it earlier this year when they were playing the Pac 4 and it was raining. I think they were playing Canada or Australia or someone like that there. It was a bit of a terrible day. And we were mentioning about not the insult, but why are they playing on that ground? And then they've been going on about how awesome it is and the crowds, how awesome the crowds are. But to be there, it was literally like watching a game at Cook's Gardens. You had a crowd. Sure, they covered up because actually around that is a running track. So they've covered that up with artificial grass to make it look like a nice big park, right? But there was no, to me, I couldn't understand where the atmosphere was in that game from when I was watching it on delayed coverage. How must that be affecting the girls? I mean, to go from 30,000, I mean, they haven't even said how many people were at that Welsh game. So I'm guessing, 8,000 maybe at a push? So how do players who come from playing a game 1 week in front of 30-odd thousand, the following week, same level of game, same level of intensity, to be only playing in front of a crowd a third the size? What does that do to the mind?
I don't think it affects the players too much, to be honest. They're playing for their country and they're playing in a World Cup. I don't think that they're too fussed about it. I think, obviously, through the week, and if they're having a chat amongst themselves, I'm sure they'd be thinking, man, we're second-class citizens here. They've stuck us out at Waitakere. They're sending up to Whangarei. The All Blacks wouldn't be happening to the All Blacks. So again, it comes back to the dollars, doesn't it? They're sitting around the table, the fish heads again. They're saying, well, hang on, Eden Park costs us a certain amount of money every time we want to have a game there, and I think we might be losing a bit of money. Let's send the girls out west. So it is a kick in the guts for them. This is the World Cup. This is the pinnacle of these ladies' careers, and they need to be treated better. And it's just we're still in the dark ages, man. Every game should be in an international stadium, whether it's frickin' Eden Park, whether it's in Wellington, whether it's down in Dunedin under the roof. But as we mentioned last week, we could have had different pools in different towns around, or different cities around the country, created a little bit more of an atmosphere. So yeah, look, I don't think we've got it right again. We haven't got it right. But look, going back to your original question, these girls are professionals, man. They don't care where they play. They're representing their country. They're getting out there in a World Cup. So again, at the business end of the tournament, semi-finals, finals, I'll be back at Eden Park, and I'm sure that the crowds will be rocking up there.
Yeah, well, and good way to sort of, because I see we've clicked over the hour mark. So we're all in agreement, East Coast, Wellington and Wanganui. The Black Ferns should do the business against the Scots girls this weekend. Hopefully they will pull it all together and move into these quarterfinal stages with a bit of momentum. And also, it'll be interesting to, because next week we will have a chat about the All Blacks versus Japan game. Yes, next week up there in Tokyo. But also next Friday night, just as a parting shot and promotion for Ngāti Pro East Coast, there is we're going to be doing a cross-posting documentary series that has been made about the journey of the Ngāti Pro Wahine, the Hamatarangi women's team, and a online TV documentary has been made, and episode 1 will be going to air, I believe, on Friday night at 6 p.m. So if you don't catch it live, you'll be able to watch the replay. But it's they've chronicled the journey throughout the season for the East Coast Wahine rugby team, which should be a really, really good watch. It's called Sky High. So if you do get to see it on social media, have a look at it, because we are heading towards a Heartland Wahine competition in the next, hopefully, 12 months. And it'd be great to, get that out there and promote it, because I'm all about promoting. Don't care if it's man or woman or kids or girls or whatever. Let's just get out there and start supporting the grassroots rugby. So, I think that's been a good hour. Thank you all for watching. Jeff, any last words about how Wellington are going to be the champions on Sunday morning?
Go the Black Ferns.
Go the Black Ferns. Go Ngāti Pro East Coast. And until next Tuesday, we're either completely right or we're completely wrong. We'll catch us all next week. So cheerio.
Ciao.